The sky burned with fire as the last wave of Terminators fell like a steel rain. But deep inside the hive, something far more terrifying than plasma fire was about to awaken. The hive had gone quiet. The winds that carried the shrieks of xenomorphs now carried only the crackling hum of Skynet's drones sweeping the wasteland. The last resistance strongholds had fallen weeks ago. Now there was only this, the hive, pulsing like a black heart in the ruins of the world. From the horizon came a low mechanical roar. The ground trembled. The last wave of Terminators marched in perfect formation, a storm of silver skeletons against the blood-red sky. The air shimmered with the heat of plasma rifles primed for the final assault. The war that had reshaped the planet was about to end. Inside the hive, the queen stirred. Her black, chitinous frame glistened in the dim light, her tail curling with slow, deliberate menace. She had seen Skynet's legions before, seen them crushed, burned, and devoured by her swarm. But this was different. This was not a scouting party. This was the last judgment. A tide of death Skynet had held back until every calculation was certain. She hissed softly, and her shriek echoed through the tunnels, summoning her children. Dozens of xenomorphs crawled from the walls, their claws clicking against the organic floor, their heads tilted, listening to the distant thunder of machines. They did not fear death, but something strange lingered in the queen's mind, a primal whisper that urged her to prepare, to protect something more important than herself. Deep in the hive's core was a chamber no Terminator had ever seen, a chamber even most drones of the hive had never entered. She slithered down into the depths, her massive body brushing against the damp, pulsing walls. The air grew warmer. The tunnel opened into a massive cavern bathed in an eerie green glow. There, resting in a circle like sacred relics, lay hundreds of eggs, unhatched, untouched. Their leathery shells quivered as if sensing her presence. They were the hive's last hope, not just soldiers but something more. These were not ordinary eggs. The queen had been experimenting, evolving, using the DNA of fallen machines, weaving metal into the flesh of her offspring. The war had forced her to adapt, and here, hidden from the eyes of both man and machine, was the result: eggs that would hatch creatures with carapaces as strong as Terminator endoskeletons, with claws that could pierce through plasma-resistant alloy, with minds sharp enough to outthink Skynet's programming. The queen roared, a sound so loud the tunnels vibrated. This was not a cry of war. It was a promise her children would not die today. Above ground, the first of the Terminators reached the outer tunnels. Plasma fire lit the dark like lightning, searing the walls, burning through layers of hive tissue. Xenomorphs shrieked and pounced, their bodies riddled with plasma bolts even as they tore through metal skulls with acid-coated claws. The battlefield became a nightmare, a clash of black, writhing bodies against glinting metal, acid blood hissing as it melted through armor and scorched the ground. But the Terminators kept coming. They were endless, relentless, a tidal wave of metal and hate. The queen moved with terrifying speed, her massive body charging through the tunnels. Her tail impaled a T-800, flinging it into a wall where it exploded in a shower of sparks. Her roar echoed through the hive, driving her children into a frenzy. This was no longer about survival. This was about holding the line until her secret chamber could be secured. A squad of T-850s breached the chamber's outer defenses. Their glowing red eyes scanned the room, their targeting systems locking on the eggs. The queen struck before they could fire, her tail whipping in a deadly arc, decapitating two in a single motion. Acid blood rained down from her injuries as plasma fire slammed into her side. But she didn't retreat. She fought like a living hurricane, her claws rending metal apart, her massive jaw crushing skulls. Still more came. The floor was soon littered with shattered endoskeletons and broken xenomorphs. The air smelled of burning metal, blood, and acid. The Queen's massive frame shuddered. Her exoskeleton cracked from repeated blasts. She was losing. Then the first egg hatched. A hiss split the chamber, and from the egg crawled something unlike anything Skynet had ever seen. The newborn's body gleamed with dark metal woven into its exoskeleton, its claws razor-sharp alloy, its tail ending in a blade so sharp it cut through the air with a whistle. It moved faster than a normal xenomorph, leaping onto a T-850 and tearing through its skull like paper. Acid and sparks erupted as the machine collapsed, its red eyes flickering out. More eggs began to pulse and split open. One by one, the hybrid offspring emerged, shrieking with a sound that was half metal, half alien scream. They swarmed the chamber, joining the battle with unholy precision. Plasma fire lit their metallic hides, but the blasts did little more than scorch their armor. They were stronger, smarter, deadlier. The Queen watched, her breath ragged, as her new children tore through the last wave of machines. The battle shifted. The Terminators, programmed to adapt, began recalculating, targeting the hybrids first, but the swarm was too fast. They leaped onto the machines, dismembering them piece by piece, acid and alloy fusing into molten ruin. Outside, the sky turned black with smoke. The last wave of Terminators faltered, their perfect march broken by the relentless hybrid assault. The battlefield became a slaughterhouse, Skynet's last army dismantled by a new generation of killers. When the final machine fell, the Hive was silent except for the sound of crackling fire and the hiss of acid eating through steel. The Queen stood tall, her body covered in burns and scars, her breath heavy but triumphant. Around her, the hybrid offspring gathered, their gleaming bodies reflecting the dim light like a new army born in darkness. She had done it. The Hive had survived. And now, with her new children, she would no longer be on the defensive. She would take the war to Skynet. Outside, the wind howled through the ruins, carrying with it the promise of something far worse than plasma fire. An evolution Skynet had not foreseen. The war was not over. It had only just begun.